Hello, I'm Armond Budish. We bring you the real news behind the headlines, right from the folks making the news. And I'm thrilled to introduce Baiju Shah today, president of the Greater Cleveland Partnership, which is involved in so much going on in the Cleveland area. Hello, Baiju.
Good afternoon, Armond.
Baiju, can you tell us, what is the Greater Cleveland Partnership? We hear it all the time, GCP, but what does it do?
Sure. So the Greater Cleveland Partnership is the region's business leadership organization. My board includes the CEOs of the largest companies and institutions from across Greater Cleveland, along with a number of small businesses. Together we represent over 12,500 businesses, with a singular mission to accelerate the economic growth and prosperity of Greater Cleveland.
So in that capacity, you get your fingers into all kinds of stuff going on, right?
Well, we've got a broad scope, but we really are focused on economic growth and prosperity. And there's obviously many other things that are important to a community beyond those topics, but we do have a full plate.
When we talk about economic growth, there's been in the news the Haslam project,
Sure.
the new Brown Stadium,
Yep.
and the other stuff related to it. Tell us the status of the Haslam project.
So dirt's already moving. If you've been over by the airport, you'll see the construction vehicles, and it will continue to pick up in activity as they've done the site preparation, and now they're going to start to do the site excavation starting in early March. For viewers, it's a $3.5 billion total project. So it is both the enclosed stadium, but there's also a development around the enclosed stadium that will include some retail and some office and some residential that a different developer by the name of Lincoln is responsible for driving.
Tell us a little bit more about the development around it, because I know there's an awful lot of money going into all the parts of the project.
Sure. So the way that I think about it is if you look around our community, you'll see similar types of developments in different types of communities, whether it's the Van Aken district in Shaker Heights or Valor Acres down in Brecksville, the new development that's going on in Richmond Heights. It's more of a small kind of retail, residential, slight office type of development that would be adjacent to this enclosed stadium. And certainly for the retailers and restaurants and residents, having that adjacency will create some vibrancy.
Now you used the number, I think $3.5 billion?
That's right.
Where's that money coming from?
Well, it's a mix of different sources. So, let's talk about the stadium itself to start. The stadium is projected to be at least $2.4 billion. If you ask me, my guess is it's probably the number's going to go up.
It always does.
It always does in construction. It does whether we're talking about big public projects or we're talking about what's going on in your house. The cost is always more than you had expected, right? The Haslams are going to be putting in at least $1.5 billion towards just the stadium project. And the remainder will be coming from a loan that the state is giving of up to $600 million. And then there's a dialogue that's going on with the city of Brook Park that would be resulting in some additional resources being provided from Brook Park, contributing tax monies back into the project.
With the loan of $600 million, who's going to repay that? And how is that repaid?
It's important to understand that this is the way that the state has structured this capital facility, is that there is a requirement that taxes generated from that site over time pay back that full amount of the loan that's being provided by the state. And if there's any shortfall, the Haslams have been asked to put up a $100 million basically guarantee put aside so that it grows as well over time and makes up for any shortfall.
What happens if the $100 million isn't enough to cover the shortfall?
I'm sure the state and the Haslams are working that out.
Okay. And what is Brook Park's role in all this?
Well, Brook Park is the host city, will be receiving significant tax revenues from a project of this sort, a development of this sort. And that's everything from taxes on admissions for events that are going on at the stadium, to parking taxes, to certainly income taxes, property taxes, all of which will get generated from that site in both the stadium as well as the adjacent development. Brook Park's role, in addition to sort of providing supporting infrastructure, is contributing some of those tax revenues back into the project to enable the financing of the overall development.
Is that different taxes than the taxes you were just referring to?
Different.
That's going to pay
local.
back the state?
That's right. So these are all local taxes. There are state taxes. The state collects income tax. The state collects sales tax. The state collects other forms of taxes. That's different than what the local governments can collect from businesses and residents.
This is a major project, and it has some very nice people.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
they're very good. Why should the public be paying any money towards the stadium?
Well, stadiums are public assets. You look across the country, with a few exceptions, almost all stadiums are publicly owned or publicly financed in one way or another. They're meant to be resources for a community to drive greater development. We have the same situation, of course, with our baseball ballpark as well as our basketball arena are both public assets. They're owned by an entity that the city and the county have created called Gateway Economic Development Corporation. And in building and in maintaining these facilities, it's always a public-private partnership. You've been certainly at the center of some of those dialogues through your time as an elected official. And it's always a negotiation for what will the private sector, private business put up relative to what can the public sector contribute. And oftentimes it's public sector contributions that are being generated from the activity itself, right? So it's not necessarily the general public. Again, in the case of the Brook Park initiative, it's the admissions taxes, it's the parking taxes, it's the income taxes that are all being generated from that facility.
And you referred to residential and retail.
Yeah.
Is that retail going to be new retail, or is it being shifted from downtown Cleveland over to Brook Park?
Well, I think there's always a refresh in retail, right? Where retail has undergone tremendous change in just the last, generation. Whether it's the advent of Amazon, the decline of the traditional shopping malls to lifestyle centers giving away to kind of these boutique town centers. There's always going to be something different in retail. Where that retail is replacing, I wouldn't say that it's exclusive to any one community. I would say that it's probably principally serving communities that are located proximate to Brook Park as a destination for shopping and for restaurants and other types of enjoyment.
But you represent businesses throughout the county.
Throughout greater Cleveland, which is much bigger than the county.
All right.
Yes.
So are you concerned about what this impact of this project is going to have on downtown Cleveland businesses that have built up over the years?
I am not, and I'll tell you why. So we've done a lot of independent analysis at Greater Cleveland Partnership, and we've seen that what a roofed facility can do versus an unroofed facility can do in terms of the number of large-scale events it can bring to a community. On average, in a roofed facility, on average in an unroofed facility, you're going to get 8 to 9 NFL football games plus several large-scale concerts a year. That's what we get today at our stadium on the lakefront. If you look at roofed facilities across the country, whether it's in Detroit or Indianapolis or Minneapolis or even in Phoenix, as we've looked at, you're going to get more than double that in terms of large-scale events. And then you're going to get a bunch of medium and small-scale events. When the large-scale events come into our community, a lot of those folks come from outside the region. They're going to need a place to stay. But they're only coming for those 25 or so events, right? Mm-hmm. They're not coming for enough events to drive hotel traffic there. So they're going to continue to stay in the infrastructure that's already been built, which is, if you look at our hotels throughout our region, highly concentrated in downtown. They're continue to enjoy the amenities that are proximate to those hotels. And so we look at this as having a roofed facility as driving greater benefit to not only downtown, but the entire region.
This is similar to when we brought in the Republican National Convention.
That's right.
There were people staying all over the place.
Well, there you
hotels.
Sandusky to Ashtabula,
all over.
Cleveland down to Canton, you had them across the entire region, right? And when you look at large-scale events, we looked at a few events that were hosted just over the past year, where you'd get crowds. These were both concerts and wrestling events that were major events in the stadium. More than half the people are coming from out of state. These things draw from everywhere because people are looking for an entertainment product. We saw that firsthand when Taylor Swift did not play in Cleveland, Yet many Clevelanders saw Taylor Swift in Detroit or in Pittsburgh or in other geographies. We want more of that activity to be aggregated in Cleveland because that whole experience economy is something that we see is growing in double digits. If you look at all of the data or you listen to individuals like Nick Barlage, who runs Bedrock, that is a growth economy because of just sort of consumer preferences and wealth aggregation in older populations. You see continuing growth, and we want to make sure our region fully participates in the experience economy.
Okay, you mentioned Bedrock.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people in this region don't realize that perhaps the biggest economic development project we've ever had is about to go forward.
Well, it is going forward, right? And so I think what's amazing about these two projects, they're both roughly the same size. They're both $3.5 billion, at least in full vision. And so Bedrock, for those who aren't familiar, is the development that's occurring just behind the terminal tower on the riverfront. It's called the Bedrock Riverfront Development in Cleveland. There, in addition to transforming Tower City, what you can see if you're down on the river right now is the brand new Cleveland Clinic, Cleveland Cavaliers Global Peak Performance Center. That building is now fully enclosed as of just about 3 weeks ago and will be fully operational by early 2027. And it's going to be something that's a destination for sports medicine and sports performance, not just for professional athletes, but for amateurs as well.
Is it open to the public?
It will be open to the public.
Yeah.
It will be open to the public. And Bedrock, that is the first of many projects that they are putting into that geography. The second one is also under construction. It's a facility called COSM. And COSM is this new entertainment concept. It's only exists in 2 other cities in the country right now, Dallas and Los Angeles. Cleveland will be one of the first 5 facilities. And that's going in a place that you would see just north of Rocket Arena. You're going to see a lot of construction if you're down there. This facility will be a place for you to experience entertainment that you can't, that you're not going to travel to. So let's say you want to go see the Winter Olympics, which are going on right now, but you can't get to Italy. They're going to have 100-yard screens there, so it's going to feel like you are right there on the slopes watching the skiers coming down. Or if you want to go and see a Formula One race, in pick your favorite city, Dubai or Singapore or somewhere else in the world, but you can't get there, they'll have it live screened right there, and it's going to feel like you're right, trackside. So this concept of COSM has been very popular in the cities that have already built COSM facilities, and Bedrock partnered in, brought that here to Cleveland, and that too opens next year.
Is that similar to the Sphere in?
It's a similar concept to the Sphere, but it's not, it's not spherical. It's more of a rectangular building and bar, but with a massive screen and really interesting and comfortable seating, so you can see live entertainment, live sports as if you're there, if you can't travel there. And so,
just for the audience, the Sphere is. Yeah, the one that I've seen is in Las Vegas, and it's so popular. It's miraculous. It's as you say, it's a surround facility that makes you feel like you're right there wherever you are looking.
And I think that this is an exciting entertainment concept. Again, back to the experience economy. Nick Barlage was at the City Club recently, and he said their hopes and aspirations and estimates are that they're going to have 750,000 visitors a year coming into COSM.
Wow.
Which is an incredible
Where are they going to come
destination.
from?
Well, I think they're going to come again from around the region, but also outside the region. This is a facility that other nearby regions don't have. So let's say you live in Columbus, or you live in Pittsburgh, or even if you live in Detroit and Buffalo. And if you want to come and see one of these world-class events, but see it in a different way than you can see just in your home television setup, Cleveland becomes the destination. Right? You can come here, you can enjoy the experience, you can enjoy our hotels, enjoy our restaurants, and see this immersive entertainment event at COSM.
And all this is on the east bank of the river?
This is all on the east bank. So right behind Terminal Tower, right over to where Rocket Arena is all the land that Bedrock owns, basically between Terminal Tower and Rocket Arena. And they are developing that. And these are the first 2 concepts. The Global Peak Performance Center, which will open again early next year, and Cosm, which also opens next year, are the two things that they are in development right now. And Nick has hinted that there's much more to come. If you look at the visions of what they put out there, it's going to be a lot of parkland along the river itself. So the East Bank will be, park and accessible riverfront for the public. And then they expect to put in more housing, throughout, and different types of housing. Both for sale housing as well as more apartments into that area.
Is this going to mesh with the Irishtown Bend project?
Yeah, this is great. So what I love, and I use my hands a lot, so I'm not sure what the viewers are going to say, but if this is sort of, let's call this Rocket Arena and Gateway right here, and the terminal tower is here, I'll take you around the river. Right across there is something called Scranton Peninsula. The NRP group and other developers have just opened 600 apartments there.
Wow.
Right? If you go around the bend, you get to what's called Irishtown Bend. Now, this is going to be one of the most beautiful parks that exist in Cleveland. It is literally on the western banks of the Cuyahoga. It starts at West 25th Street on the top, goes all the way down to the river, and it's going to have the most beautiful views of our skyline. 24 acres of parkland right there. All of that opens as well in 2027.
It's very exciting what's going on.
It's a lot, and the mayor talks a lot about this becoming one of the only 2 waterfront cities in the country, right? That we are aggressively moving forward on the riverfront with all of this development, and we've got exciting plans for the lakefront. The downtown lakefront that we want to see finally reconnecting our city to the water in a more comprehensive way. That work is also underway, and so we are, as a community, with the support of our business community, but led by our public officials, really seeing the redevelopment of both the riverfront and the lakefront right now.
Where's the money coming from for this project?
Yeah, so the lakefront, Irishtown Bend or lakefront?
No, lakefront.
Okay, so let's talk about the lakefront. The first thing that we need to do on the lakefront is we need to reduce the shoreway down. We're going to take the shoreway down so it's not cutting right across, basically separating downtown from the lake. Right. Under the city's leadership, with the support of many others, we have collected over $150 million of federal and state funds to be matched by local funds to take care of that shoreway redesign so that we can better connect the city's street fronts all the way into what we would call the downtown lakefront.
The money is already in hand?
The money has already been secured.
Designated.
It's contracted. The money will come in hand when we're ready to actually start construction. So the construction begins in 2027, and it will take probably about a year or 2 to complete the road work so that we can better access the downtown lakefront sites. And the downtown lakefront site is where the Science Center is today, where the Rock Hall is today. The stadium will come to the ground. The Haslam's are also paying for that stadium to come fully to the ground. And as a part of the deal that the Haslam Group struck with the City of Cleveland, in addition to that, they are contributing $100 million towards the downtown lakefront.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Now, that money has been designated for the project. What is the risk that with the cuts going on in Washington, we lose that money somehow?
Well, it's always, until money has been drawn down and spent, I'm always vigilant, as everyone should be, about any risk of change. Fortunately, our senators and federal legislators are fully supportive of this project and helped us secure that money, which was awarded under the Biden administration, has secured it into the Trump administration. We're going to continue to work with our federal delegation as well as our local leaders and our governor to make sure that that money stays ring-fenced for Cleveland since it's been awarded to Cleveland.
And I can tell our audience, Baiju is vigilant and very effective in dealing with our elected officials. There's no question about it. If there's a way to maintain it, he'll do it.
Well, we're going to try. We are going to try, and our business community is focused, our mayor is focused, our county executive is focused, our governor is focused, again, all of our federal senators to representatives. We do not want to see money that we have won as a community ever go back to Washington, D.C.
How will this project, which in some ways sounds similar to what the Haslam's are doing in Brook Park, how will they mix together? Are they going to feed off each other?
I think it's different. You know, the downtown lakefront, first of all, the DiGeronimo Group from Cleveland has been selected by the city of Cleveland to be the developer, master developer of that downtown lakefront. They're still working through sort of their vision for what it's going to be. I would imagine that it will be a mixed-use community, meaning residential development with some entertainment / retail. Where we have as a community built access to waterfronts, whether it's on the river or on the lake, we have always seen that the public not only wants access, but people want to live. I think our best example in our community has been what has happened at Edgewater Park and above Edgewater Park in the Detroit Shoreway neighborhood. Once the public and private sectors had aligned on redesigning the West Side Shoreway, creating an access path from, again, up here on the hill for Detroit Shoreway down to Edgewater Park, and provided management of the public parks to the metro parks, we've seen over $1.3 billion of residential development up on the hill. And that's people wanting to move there because they can see sunsets on the lake and they can enjoy the beauties of being near the water.
We're building residential in Brook Park
Yep.
as part of the project. We're building some residential
Yep.
along the lakefront
Yep.
project. You just talked about NRP Group building
Yep.
600.
Yep.
Where are all the people coming from? Where do they go? No, Northeast Ohio hasn't been growing.
No, you're right. And this is our #1 challenge. So we just released our growth rankings where we check how we do as a region versus 10 other Midwest peer regions. And we had a very, very strong performance in 2024, which is the latest data. We finished 4th in business growth, 3rd in income growth, but 6th in jobs growth. So that's out of 11. Our challenge and our Achilles heel right now is we don't have enough people. We've been at 3.8 million people across this region for a very long period of time. So now, to answer your question, people want different types of housing products. So even though the even though the population has been flat, people's preferences change. That's not just for the kind of younger generations that might want a different type of layout for a house or a different type of apartment that they want to live in than the apartments that we have, today. It's also for people that are older and that are looking to maybe downsize out of houses but want to live in communities that are vibrant, that are maybe walking distance to restaurants as opposed to driving distance, since they don't want to drive as much perhaps as they age. So the demand is there for different types of housing product, and we need to, as communities, constantly reinvent. When I talk to mayors or managers across the region, I ask them to keep assessing how are they going to compete for individuals? What are they going to offer? Right? And it's a full offering. It's not just the housing product, but it's the parks, it's the schools, it's the safety services, it's the libraries, it's all of the types of things that lead people to choose where they're going to live. And that needs to be constantly refreshed. You can't just live on what was good for the last generation and expect that the next generation is going to want it. All of our preferences will keep changing. Just like businesses, communities need to keep reinventing and adapting so that they continue to draw in talent and they continue to draw in business.
To grow the region, one of the most important functions is the airlines.
Yes.
And to be honest, Cleveland Hopkins just doesn't seem to cut it.
Yeah.
It's an older, tired, it's not modernized airport, and we're not a hub. Mm-hmm. How can we deal with getting more businesses here to Cleveland without a new airport?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think this is one of the most important priorities for our community. And this Mayor Bibb, has taken leadership and is engaged in a partnership with the airlines that has unlocked $1.6 billion towards a full-scale airport transformation. That transformation is also underway as we speak. So you've seen the Sheraton come down. You're going to see a parking lot be built outside of Concourse D, as we would call it. You're going to then start to see a parking garage emerge on what's known as the orange lot, the furthest lot. And then the new existing parking garage will come to the ground, and a brand new terminal is being built right there. And that's what the mayor has called the Clevolution. So this is underway. The contracts have been let. And we think this is critical because the airport is how we welcome and connect to the world. It's got to give us the image for visitors of what Cleveland not only is today, but what our aspiration is as we go into the 21st century. The second thing that you talked about, though, was air service, right? And this is something that, longtime Clevelanders remember that we used to have a hub for Continental and then United.
Wasn't that long ago?
Well, 2014 is when it disappeared, so it is a long time ago at this point.
Guess so.
It's been 12 years. And people will ask me, will we ever get a hub back? And well, we've got kind of a Frontier, what they call a crew hub. And so you've got Frontier going to 19 or so cities right now. But the way that major airlines have made determinations, regions like Cleveland or Columbus or Pittsburgh or Indianapolis or Cincinnati or they're not going to get hubs from major airlines because that's not the business model that works for major airlines. What we're focused on is connectivity to cities, not only in the United States, but we are really focused on also international destinations. We need to be able to more easily access, whether it's for business or leisure, all places in the country as well as places across the world. We've worked with this city and Jobs Ohio to bring in new airlines. Alaska Airlines serving Seattle, Aer Lingus now serving Dublin and Europe. And we are committed as a business community to continuing to support the airport and support the mayor, not only on the transformation, but on recruiting additional flight service here.
All right. So I'd like to thank Baiju Shah very much for being our guest today. There's so much exciting going on in this region that we have to take a breath and I think thank.
Yeah, and I think that, first of all, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
here. The momentum is very palpable right now. And if people are interested in learning more, we encourage them to follow us on social media, pick your favorite platform, and we will keep providing you what's going on in the region on the topics we talked about, as well as business news.
Thank you very much, Baiju.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.